everyone, and welcome to another episode of First Look, Final Word, podcast where we take you along to see a new movie with us. My name's Pete.
And I'm Trevor. How is everyone doing, you mutant scum?
Okay, went that route, did it? Okay, that works, that works.
Now, if you're a new listener, I'm not really calling you guys mutant scum. So.
Yeah, Trevor tries to pull up an interesting line that plays into what the movie is, so that one works.
Well, what movie are we seeing this week that I'll be talking about mutant scum?
Yeah, I don't know, what could it be? It could only be the savior of the MCU, Deadpool and Wolverine, which I am pretty hyped about. This has been the movie I've been looking forward to all summer, so...
Yeah, this is probably the kind of the movie of the summer, really, and
for me at least. I'm not sure if I feel like geeks like me, yes, like me and you, but I don't know if the general public are going to be as excited about it. But I hope so.
Well, we'll see. Apparently, it has more advanced ticket sales for any R-rated film ever.
Nice.
Including Oppenheimer from last year. So.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, that sounds good. Anyway, let me get into the synopsis here, just for anyone who has no idea what Deadpool and Wolverine might be about. Okay, so I'm pulling this from IMDb. A listless Wade Wilson toils away in civilian life with his days as the morally flexible mercenary Deadpool behind him. But when his homeworld faces an existential threat, Wade must reluctantly suit up again with an even more reluctant Wolverine.
Okay, wow. Two reluctant heroes teaming up together.
Heroes, gotta love it.
All right, so where do you want to start on this one, Pete? I thought maybe we could talk a bit about where the state of the MCU is.
Yeah, for sure.
We had last talked about the MCU when we did our episode, I think way back in, is it November, on the Marvels?
The Marvels, yeah, that seems like a long time ago.
It seems incredible that we haven't gotten an MCU movie since that point.
Yes.
Where's the MCU at? You're kind of like the resident MCU expert in the car. Where's the MCU at this point, and why is this movie the potential savior?
Well, I think they realized that they were oversaturating it a little bit, because they were, like you say, they were pumping them out, and then there did seem to be a quality dip for sure after in this latest phase. I mean, I don't think that's going to surprise anyone with that opinion. But I think just the oversaturation of the amount they were putting out, especially with the TV content, I think it was just too much. And then they stopped being like event movies, like especially with stuff like the Marvels. And when they did Multiverse of Madness, it was a bit of a disappointment. And then the Thor movie, it's like people were a bit like, this is enough now.
Well, and since the Marvels, I guess that's like 9 months or so since we've got an MCU movie. Have we gone that long between MCU movies since this whole thing has started?
That's a good question. I think in the very, very early days, I think they were spaced out a fair amount. I think it was just when it ramped up into
maybe between the Incredible Hulk and Iron Man 2 or something.
Yeah,
there was a bit of time.
That was like when they were still sort of finding their feet, but then they just started rattling them out like insane speeds.
Yeah. Well, and they've kind of pulled back on everything, basically. Like, the only content we've gotten since we did our episode on the Marvels, which you should check out, they've had like a season of What If,
which was good.
A season of Echo,
which was not good.
Which I didn't end up finishing. I was watching with my wife, and then it was a bit too weird for her at times. So then she's like, I'm not sure about this one.
Yeah, I'm like a completist with MCU, so I've seen everything. But yeah, I'm telling a lie. I did not watch Seeing Humans, which I don't think anybody did, to be perfectly honest. And I didn't watch like some of the early.
Is that a Netflix
TV
one?
Stuff. No, it was. I think it was. I can't remember which network did that, but it was a.
Oh, maybe it's an ABC thing.
Yeah, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I did watch a couple of seasons of that, but I couldn't bring myself to continue with that one. That was got a bit daft as well.
Yeah. Well, and the Marvels is pretty much the only MCU box office dud, right? Like,
yeah.
They've had things that have disappointed, but never anything
they still
do
pretty
money.
well, right? Yeah. That was a tough hit for them for sure. But I've got a feeling though that they are going to be trying to turn things around. Like Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con's like coming up next week, and they're going back there. They haven't been there for a few years, I don't think. Marvel specifically with Feige and whatnot, but I know that they're going there, and I'm pretty sure they're going to be announcing some stuff. And like they'll get all the people up. They'll have Fantastic Four up there, and all the stuff from the new Captain America and all that stuff, because they just dropped the trailer for that as well.
Yeah.
So I've got a feeling that they've been beavering away behind the scenes, because there's lots of stuff where like we're making sure this is going to be good, which typically normally is worrying when they do a bunch of reshoots and stuff, because I know they've basically retooled the entirety of that new Captain America movie. They literally added in like entirely new characters and did a bunch of reshoots.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, it's always a good sign that you're even able to do that for the
it's
movie.
Normally, it's never usually a good sign, because it means that the movie you had was probably not, obviously not great. But I'd rather they do that. I mean, it can work out. Like it happened in the past where you could reshoots or like scrap the movie and just basically redo it, and it's for the best. So I'm hoping that turns out well, because that's going to be an important movie, I think, for him. But no, I'm in my mind, I'm like hoping that this movie is just really good and it's a bit of a turning point, and then they can sort of hit the ground running next year.
Well, I've mostly been ignoring the online chatter, but from what I've seen, it seems like people are excited about this one, and reception so far has been pretty good. Are you excited about this one?
Oh yeah, I'm so excited about it. So like you say, I've been trying to avoid spoilers, because I just noticed this is going to be crammed with cameos and stuff as well. So I'm just like really just trying to, anything I see on social media, I'm just like scrolling past as fast as I can and not reading it.
Yeah, I've seen a couple things that I don't know are actual spoilers, or like maybe just misinformation that's going out there.
And there's a bit of that floating around, right? Like a lot of like fan-made art that they're trying to pass off as stills and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, the one thing, and I'll mention this kind of at the back end of the episode once we have seen the movie and we go into spoilers, but I'll say some of the things that I've seen online, because I think like they can't all possibly be true, but it's just like, just scrolling through some feeds, you just see things.
Yeah, I'm assuming there's going to be a ton, like, because I guess we should talk as well about your, not just MCU, but the Fox stuff with the X-Men, where obviously Hugh Jackman started as Wolverine.
Yeah, so you've been doing a bit of a rewatch of all the X-Men stuff. So
I was a massive fan of that stuff back in the day. Like when it came out, I loved all the X-Men movies. Like I was really into all that early stuff, like the early like Sam Raimi Spider-Man and the X-Men movies. So I remember loving them as a kid, and even though, and I did do a rewatch I watched like 7 Fox movies this week. Every movie that had Wolverine I tried to watch, which I did a pretty good job of. But the quality of them is like wildly up and down. But it was just the characters and the world of just like seeing superheroes on screen. I just loved it so much. And like Hugh Jackman as Wolverine was like the center of that, right? He was by far and away the best character, which is why he was so popular and why he's managed to play it for 20 odd years or whatever it is.
So remind me, when that first X-Men movie came out, was that like 2001?
I think it was 2000.
Or 2000, yeah. And like, so when that came out, that was like before the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 2, right? Like,
yeah, I think it was like the first superhero movie to hit that was actually like well received and did well. It was actually like, oh, this is legit. This is a legit movie.
Yeah, so it was like a couple years pause between Batman and Robin and X-Men, and then not really any real superhero content that came in between there, right?
There was a couple of things. Like, when did Blade come out? Because Blade did really well. Oh, that's true.
Yeah, I think that was probably just a couple of years before that too. Then, right?
Because that was I was just like an R-rated action movie.
Yeah, I always kind of forget about Blade and speaking of production problems, like Blade just seems like a movie that's just never absolutely going to get made.
No, yeah, I think I saw an announcement today online about it. They announced it again.
What is like they announced that it's happening?
Yeah, I think I saw that that Feige had confirmed it's going to be their next big R-rated movie.
Okay,
so I'm hoping.
Do they have a director for it yet? Because like they've had like at least two directors.
Do they have directors for any of their movies at this point? They don't have. They don't even have directors for their Avengers movie.
Well, there were talks circling around that the Russos were coming back, and I kind of have to assume that's going to be true.
Yeah, they just pulled the emergency Russo lever. Like, come and save us, please.
You know, a lot of people are saying like it's like kind of getting back to with your ex when you both probably could do better.
Yeah, it's like we know this is going to work well enough. Like, should we just do this?
Well, yeah, like I have no complaints about the Russo brothers' work within the MCU, right? Like, it's solid. Like,
I'd be interested to see if they're going to bring Marcus and McFeely back to write though, because they wrote all the Russo movies, I believe.
So
all the Avengers ones, at least.
So hopefully, getting the old A-team back together.
Yeah. So that's why I think that's why I'm so hyped for this movie in particular, because I'm a sucker for like bringing stuff together. Like Days of Future Past, I loved just because it was like, oh, we're gonna bring all the characters from all the different movies and bring them all into one. And that was just within the Fox X-Men universe, right? So like, I'm anticipating a bit of that, but also MCU stuff as well. With Deadpool, like, as a secret sauce, I'm just like, it has all the ingredients to just be like an amazing time.
I'm sorry, my car is yelling at me because
there's too close to the bollards.
Because there's some construction going on, and it's saying you're going outside the line. And I'm like, I have to be going outside the line, or I'm going to hit these like huge pylons.
Just open the pod bay doors, car.
Yeah. So earlier today, I sent you like that chronological list of all of the X-Men movies. I thought, it kind of makes sense to kind of go through those. We can talk through like kind of where this movie's coming and in that whole arc, and then we can maybe do a bit of a ranking of all of our X-Men movies.
That's not a bad idea. Well, what's your history though with the Fox X-Men stuff? Are you a fan? Have you seen them all? Like,
well, I guess my history goes back to the '90s animated show. Like,
definitely that's where I
was a huge fan of both the Spider-Man and the X-Men shows, and there's a lot of crossover between those two.
Yeah, that's a good show because that's exactly where I started. Because I'm not a comics reader.
Yeah,
I just love the universe. I never got into reading the comics, but yeah, those TV shows in the '90s are what sucked me in. We must have just been at the right age for that, I think.
Yeah, and like we both kind of gave an overview of our history with superheroes and Marvel stuff on our episode of the Marvels. But yeah, just to kind of repeat the same thing, like we're both not like hardcore comic people. I'm kind of the same as you, that I was really into Batman, like the Tim Burton movies and the animated show, and then also all the Marvel stuff. Though I never watched the Iron Man show. I didn't realize it existed.
There was a couple that weren't that great.
But then like I was always a kid who, whenever a superhero movie came out, I would watch it. So I saw the original X-Men in theaters, and I've been a fan kind of all the way through. There are a couple towards the end here that I haven't seen, but we can kind of get into that.
Yeah, I think I've seen them all. So
yeah, I'm
in the bag for this stuff.
I am in the bag for it. I will say, like, I think my favorite X-Men thing is X-Men 97. Like, I think that TV show is incredible. If anyone listening to this,
how good is that show? It's incredible.
If anyone listening to this has not seen it, like, you seriously have to go watch it. Like, it's really incredible.
Yeah, it's funny to watch that and like compare it to what they did in the X-Men movies back in the early 2000s, because they really did some characters dirty, I think, in those movies.
Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe we can get into it. Like,
yeah, for sure.
So, how did you feel about that first X-Men movie?
First X-Men movie. I remember at the time, I like you, my whole perception of the X-Men universe was basically that TV show, the animated one. So going in, I was like super hyped for it, and it had everything that I was hoping for in terms of like the setting and the school and Professor X. But there's a few things where I'm like, oh, like I don't understand why they made the decision with the Rogue character and having her so young and her being kind of the focus. Because I love that character in the show, and in the movies, I kind of just found annoying.
They basically just made her Jubilee, right?
Yeah, and they even had Jubilee in the background in some of the shots in the first movie. They crowbarred her into every movie, I think, just in the crowbar.
Oh, did they?
I don't think she ever had a line.
Yeah,
she was just like in the back when the credits. She was credited Jubilation.
Well, I just remember like the original X-Men series opened with like Jubilee is like a kind of on the run teen.
Yeah.
She winds up there, and then she's the audience proxy, and then they just kind of transplant that onto Rogue. But yeah, that's a good point. Like,
but I wasn't.
Rogue's not like the strong character in the movies.
Yeah, Rogue was like my favorite character.
Yeah,
and they kind of just made her into a whiny, annoying like kid.
Rogue was probably my second favorite character. My favorite character was Gambit.
Yeah, well, everyone's favorite character is Gambit.
I fucking loved Gambit as a kid, even though he's like such a perv.
Yeah, and I couldn't really understand what he was like, the choice of accent and stuff, but especially being English, I was like, what kind of accent is he doing here?
Yeah, I still love Gambit. Like in X-Men '97, like really,
so awesome.
They do Gambit so great in that one. Like
really do.
He has maybe like the best episode too, like in his arc in Genova, which I won't spoil.
Don't worry, no spoilers for X-Men '97.
But like, man. It's and like I felt a little embarrassed about liking Gambit before, but now
he's just the coolest one though. Really, he's the coolest character.
Yeah, so I thought the first movie was like, small scale but kind of executed well.
Yeah. The funny thing about it as well, sorry to cut you off, but like they made it like specific. They specifically didn't want it to be like comic books, like especially with like the aesthetic, and like when they even make a joke about like the yellow spandex, and like they tried to like, sounds weird, but like ground it a bit more. I think they're making it too like, let's just go balls out superheroes, which I think worked at the time because it was like the mainstream audience's introduction to that stuff. So I don't think you could have had them jumping about in their like comic book accurate costumes. It would have just been too much, I think.
Well, and it was sort of a reaction to Batman and Robin, which had gone so colorful and so campy.
Yeah. So on one hand I was like, oh, this is kind of different, but then on the other hand I was like, but it's still X-Men, and I'm still loving it. So like it wasn't like the best thing I'd ever seen in my life, but I was just like, it's like we finally have it. X-Men are on the or in movies.
And so I know you've gone through these recently. My memory of X2 is very, very high.
Yeah, like it's good.
I would still say that that's my favorite X-Men movie. I don't know if you'd rank it that high, but I have really fond memories. But it's been maybe 10 years since I've seen it.
Yeah, it is good. It's not as amazing as I remembered. I think just because it was definitely an improvement over the first. But my favorite, and we can get into it, but my favorite of the series is still Days of Future Past.
Okay,
just because I love that story.
That'd probably be my number 2.
But and actually, I don't know if that's true. If we include like the Deadpool movies, they'd be up there pretty high too.
Okay, well, so why don't we start rattling some of these titles off, and then we can just give kind of our basic impressions.
So after X-Men 2, which was, as we say, a great movie, we get into X-Men: The Last Stand, which I think we can all agree is a big steaming pile of shit.
Yeah, it's not good.
No, it's not good. And I rewatched it this week, and I tried to have an open mind, and I literally watched them back to back, first, second, third, and it was just like, wow, it's. You could tell it was like, oh, the director left, and
so Bryan Singer doesn't do X3.
No, he dropped out, and they brought Brett Ratner in.
Okay,
yeah, and it was just not good.
Well, it seemed like
you could tell like even the people in it weren't impressed with it, like the actors. I did a bit of reading up, and like, how do you say her name? Like Franca Jensen, who plays Jean Grey.
Right.
She was like apparently super hyped to do the Phoenix Saga, like all through filming the first two movies, and like they really teased it in the second one. And then she was like, in the third one, it was like, this is not Phoenix. This is stupid. She doesn't do nothing apart from stand around and be evil. It's just like, it was horrible. And Vinnie Jones as Juggernaut. Oh, no, thanks.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. That was, it's not, and like, and going back to talking about how they didn't really do service to the Rogue character very well. In that one, she just like, chooses to be mortal, right? Which I guess is like, is like an interesting part of her arc or whatever. But then, she never really does anything in the movies, right? Because she's kind of nerfed too, right?
Yeah, very true.
She just is able to like steal other people's power and but then she's just like a regular, regular girl.
Yeah, she doesn't keep any powers, right? Like, there's a couple of times where she'll steal powers just for like that minute.
Yeah.
So she can heal or do whatever, but then it's just like, it just goes back to just whining about not being able to kiss boys.
Yeah.
Which was a part of Rogue, and I don't mind that, but you also need to be able to fly around and punch people.
Yeah,
seriously. Just let her do it. I mean, I guess the problem is they couldn't go the route of how she got her powers, because she got her powers by absorbing all of Ms. Marvel's powers and basically almost killing her. So I guess they would have had to come up with it. They could have just said there are powers. Like, she can't touch people, but she can fly and is super strong.
Yeah, like what? Like, they don't have to explain every little thing, right? No.
But at the same time, they're probably like, we do not have the budget to have her flying around punching people. Like, let's just have her just look sad and mope around with Bobby. Nice man.
So what comes after X3?
So X3, when they went into the great run of X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Okay, so I have an interesting story about this one. So the version of this movie that I saw was the one that didn't have all of the special effects added to it.
How did you see that version?
Apparently, like, this is pretty common for people who used to torrent movies online, which is something I used to do, but statute of limitations has passed. I can only assume.
Trevor, you wouldn't steal a car. Did you guys have that commercial in
yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so the version that I got, and I assume a lot of people listening had the same sort of thing.
They just did.
So the version that we watched, there were no special effects.
Like, it didn't even have when he blows up the helicopter and walks away with the explosion behind him.
No, so
it's just him walking in slow motion.
It kind of shows the foundation of where these special effects will go.
Okay, right. It's got like a rotoscoped flame in the background.
Yeah, so basically. So yeah, I technically have watched the movie, though I guess I haven't really experienced it, though. It doesn't have a good reputation anyway.
Yeah, I don't think you really were missing out on much, to be honest with that. Apart from that cool scene when he walks away from the exploding helicopter, but that was just a bit daft as well. Yeah, and they kind of, the thing that annoyed me was to your point about Gambit, they wanted to put Gambit in the third movie, but they didn't let them because they knew they were going to hold him back and have him in X-Men Origin Wolverines, and they didn't want anyone crossing over. So they basically wasted that whole character on that movie when he didn't really need to be in it. So that annoyed me. And then the whole Deadpool, the Wade Wilson thing is well documented, but that was the first appearance of Ryan Reynolds as Wade Wilson.
Yeah, and from what I remember, he's not really very funny in the movie or anything, right?
Well, he was pretty good. There was one scene of him doing his with the mouth shtick, and then that was it. And then they killed him off basically, and then he comes back at the end with his mouth shown shut. So it was you could see the seeds of it, because I from what I hear, that's when Ryan Reynolds was kind of done with doing superhero stuff after he was in Blade and had a horrible experience doing that, because.
Yeah, he was in Blade 3, right?
Yeah, apparently.
Which wasn't.
Wesley Snipes was a huge dick, and he was just he's just everyone bent everyone knows the wrong way. So and then obviously he was Green Lantern and stuff. So he was I'm not doing superhero stuff anymore. But then he got convinced to play this Wade Wilson character. Then he got really into it, and that's why he became enamored with that character and really wanted to set the record straight, because that movie did him so did it so dirty.
Yeah, exactly. If it wasn't for that kind of awful movie, we wouldn't have gotten
that's
Deadpool,
just it, right? Yeah, that's just very, very true.
All right, so what are the other titles in there?
Okay, so moving on from that, we get into the X-Men First Class, which was a good movie with the Michael Fassbender, James McAvoy.
Which, yeah, I do like this movie. The thing I think about most when I think about this movie is that scene where they're going around showing off all their powers, which I think is so lame.
Yeah, there's a couple of pretty lame things.
But overall, I do really like
the recruitment montage.
Yeah, Fassbender and McAvoy are great.
Yeah.
We actually didn't talk about Stewart and McKellen
No, I
at
guess,
all,
I guess
which
we
is
really
what
didn't.
they're really the secret sauce of those early X-Men movies. As good as Hugh Jackman is, which like we're gonna talk a lot about Hugh Jackman tonight.
Exactly. Yeah, very very true though. We need to give them their props because they were like powerhouses to bring into that movie.
Yeah.
You know, when you think about it, back in 2000, they brought both of them in to a superhero movie, and they absolutely nailed those roles. But like, it was weird because when they recast for First Class, in my heart I was like, I don't want to see anybody else playing these characters. But I mean,
pretty good choices. Like Fassbender at the time was like a little unknown.
Yeah,
like he was in Inglourious Bastards.
Although I will say though, his accent in that first movie is seriously ropey. He's like very Irish.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh man, he's so Irish because like it comes out in certain words, but like it's like Magneto. call me Magneto. It's like, oh my word. So you could tell like in the later movies he's really trying to do more McKellen.
Yeah.
Because man, yeah, some of the lines in that First Class was like, you're supposed to be like German or Polish German.
Yeah, I think
like where's this Irish accent coming from?
Yeah, I think like McKellen's doing like a, English by way of Poland kind of thing.
Yeah. No, but
yeah, I can't really remember Fassbender's accent.
The accent threw me off, but he's just so good.
Yeah, he's one of the best.
Like, you can look past the little Irish coming through in his accent.
And Kevin Bacon's the big bad in that one, right?
Yeah.
You were going on about Kevin Bacon
we were
last
talking
week,
about Kevin
right?
Bacon. Yeah. He's still around. Still around.
He's still kicking. Only 67 years old.
Yeah,
if you can believe it.
He's doing pretty good. He doesn't look it. But no, yeah, he was a good, pretty decent bad guy in that.
I think January Jones.
Yeah, by Emma Frost. Who else is in that one?
Yeah, well, they got a good like core cast.
Yeah, they really did
for the young guys.
Yeah, that for that time, like they really had a bit of an A-list there.
Yeah, they kind of did a good job of like guessing at who was just about to pop off too, really, right? Because they got like Jennifer Lawrence for like 3 of these movies, which is crazy.
I kind of
like that is a big mistake.
Yeah, we can get into that because I didn't like the fact
the Raven Mystique.
They really had to focus on that character in the later movies because they realized they had an Oscar winner in their cast list, which I feel like was a bad choice because she wasn't the most interesting character.
So is Days of Future Past right after that one?
No, there's the Wolverine. James Mangold doing his first effort at Wolverine.
Yeah.
Which I really like.
That's the one in Japan, right?
Yeah, that's the one where he goes in Japan.
Yeah, and that's the one that I went to go see with my wife, and she fell asleep.
Oh, really?
Like in the first 10 minutes of the movie.
I feel like it's like, and it's funny because it almost had like the MCU vibe of being like 2/3 of a really good movie, and then the final act just being, I'm just going to fight this giant CGI metal samurai, and it just kind of fell off because most of the movie was just about him dealing with stuff and his relationship with I forget her name, Mariko, whatever it is, and it was like a really good character piece, and I was like, oh wait, we have to do a big superhero fight now, and it's just like, where's this coming from? It's just dumb. This is dumb.
Him like fighting those like with the samurai swords on the train is awesome. Like that's great stuff.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Obviously like that train. That's why you put him in Japan is to do that.
Stick him on a bullet train and make him fight samurais. No, yeah, and I love like Japanese culture and stuff, and so like I was in for that one.
Yeah, it's kind of like a nice small project, but you're definitely right. Like it does, and everyone could see that third act coming from a mile away too.
Yeah, but I mean, it's way better than The Last Stand or X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Right.
You can put this up there with X2.
Right, so what comes after the Wolverine?
Then we're into Days of Future Past.
Yeah. So I would say that that's my second favorite, and like I haven't done a recent rewatch like you have. So
yeah, I rewatched it like yesterday. Yeah, and because I remember loving that movie. Like I say, I'm a sucker for that stuff where it's like, oh look, it's all these characters that you know from those movies that you used to love, and here they are doing cool stuff, and now they're going to go back in time, and it's the other cast members, and they're just going to be like doing stuff at the same time. And that's when they introduce Quicksilver as well. It was just
like the time in a bottle stuff is so well done. Like, we're not the first people to say that, obviously, but like everyone's kind of been trying to do like super speed in that same way since then.
Yep. Yeah, they basically did the exact same scene in Sonic the Hedgehog. They really did. They just stole it. Yeah, and like way better than the MCU Quicksilver. Let's put it that way.
And the stuff from The Flash is kind of doing the same thing.
True. Yeah. So, I think that's still my favorite in terms of the Fox movies. I just love that one so much. But yeah, moving on from that, then we introduced Deadpool.
Yeah. So what do you think about that first movie?
I loved the first Deadpool movie. It was almost like it's a perfect Deadpool movie anyway. I gotta say that. But it was just like, you've never seen anything like this. It's just like quintessential, just like Deadpool breaking the fourth wall, just like never shutting up and just being just wacky. And it's just like so like kinetic and just like pushes through. It's just like it never stops. I love it.
Yeah, like I love the Deadpool character, like as Ryan Reynolds plays him. Like I love the sense of humor.
Yeah.
That first movie, like I still kind of bump up against it a little bit, just because it's like it's so cheap, and like they poke fun at how cheap it is too in the movie, which I do enjoy. And like I like it. I would just kind of give it like a B.
Right.
Like I'm just not as huge of a fan of it as other people. I like the second one a little bit more, but I'm not
like the second one better than the first one. Oh, that's interesting.
I think so. Yeah, I like Cable.
Yeah, Cable is cool. The second one's really good, don't get me wrong, but the first one, I just love that. I love the first one so much. The second one, I felt like it got a bit too much. I feel like they tried to do too much in the end with it. But no, the first movie, I
like that he's like just fucking dying the whole time. I think it's so funny. Like I'll often watch like the scenes from him in prison. Which I think are just so fun.
Yeah. And I like how they brought back Juggernaut, and Ryan Reynolds does the voice of Juggernaut in that movie. Did you know that?
No, I didn't. Yeah. Well, and he really does care about the character, which
that's what Which is funny because I remember when they wanted to make the Deadpool movie, and they said, okay, well, write a script and we'll see. Write us a spec script and we'll see. And then the spec script got leaked. And like everybody loved its spec script, so they're like, okay, well, here's some money, do some test footage, and then that leaked, and like everyone says it like that was Ryan Reynolds who leaked that, and like he barely even denies it at this point. Imagine it just like leaking the stuff to get it.
I remember
catching fire.
I remember watching that leaked footage,
I remember watching it too. That's when it was like, this is it. This is this is going to be amazing.
Because I had seen like Wolverine Origins by that point, but I still don't think I could have told you who Deadpool was.
No, true, yeah.
My brother-in-law has been a huge Deadpool fan forever, and he kind of introduced me to the character and showed me that leaked footage. And I'm like, oh, it looks really good. It definitely like it's not like any superhero movie that.
No, yeah, that's probably my introduction to the Deadpool character properly as well. Because like to your point, I'd seen him in that Wolverine movie, but I'd never read any of the books or anything, and then I saw that and I was like, holy shit, who is this guy? This is amazing. This is not the guy from that other movie.
All right, so we're getting close to the theater here. Why don't we rattle off the rest of these?
So we in between Deadpool and Deadpool 2, we had X-Men Apocalypse, which I've only seen once and I hated.
I saw it on a plane, and they remember they blurred out some cleavage.
Oh, did they?
On the plane and like infotainment system, which I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah, Trevor just started shouting and complaining.
Yeah, like I was just like ringing the button.
Excuse me, stewardess.
Excuse me.
I demand my cleavage.
And she's
I'm a paying customer.
And she's like, for the fourth time, I can't do anything about the cleavage. I'm sorry.
It's been edited for the flight. It says it right at the start.
It's not like we're watching an unedited video up in the cockpit there.
And then one after that, before Deadpool 2, one we definitely should mention is Logan.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm going to take it back. That is my favorite.
It's great. Yeah, and like
that's a masterpiece of a movie, I think.
I'd say I still probably put that at number 3. Like I like it a lot. Like it's obviously it's unquestionably a great movie.
Yeah.
And did you see all the stuff that like James Mangold was saying in the press this week?
No.
He said that this week he said multiverses are the death of cinema or something to that effect.
Nice.
Which like he's clearly upset that Hugh Jackman has come back to play the Wolverine character.
Well, I remember when
after they killed him off because he feels like it undercuts what Logan accomplished.
Yeah, I remember when they first did that announcement video way back when, and they made a very specific point to be like, we're not going to ruin the ending of Logan. Like, we're not going to touch that. And then in the trailer for this movie, you can tell they're actually visiting the scene of the end of Logan where he dies. It's like, oh, you really not messing with it. It looks
so I feel like James Mangold saw a cut. Okay, let's rattle off the rest of these before we head in.
Yeah, so after Deadpool 2 then was X-Men Dark Phoenix, which I'm not even going to discuss.
I didn't see it because I feel like I already saw it.
I saw it. It was horrible.
Okay.
Worse than The Last Stand by a long way. Because this was like when the Disney acquisition was kind of happening.
Yeah.
So these like Dark Phoenix and New Mutants, which was the next one, they were kind of the last ones that were already in development. So I think they just were like, you know what, just do whatever.
I haven't seen either, and
I've seen New Mutants. I actually didn't mind it. It was all right.
All right.
It doesn't deserve the stick. And that was all of them. And then the next one is Deadpool and Wolverine, which we're about to go see.
All right. Yeah, and everyone, we are at the theater now. If you're new to the podcast, Pete and I are going to go in, watch Deadpool and Wolverine, then we're going to come back, give our spoiler-free reactions to the movie we just saw. I'll also give you a pee report, tell you the best time to go pee, and then we'll give you lots of warning before we head into spoiler talk.
Can't wait to get into spoilers.
All right, here we go. Wish us luck.
Yep. See you later, guys. Welcome back, everyone. We're in the car. Just heading home after seeing Deadpool. Don't hit anything, Trevor.
It's telling me not to run over these people.
It's nice of your car to let you know that there's innocent people you're about to murder.
Yeah, I guess it's not worth it.
I don't know why they don't give cars like the Kit voice. Like, don't run over those people. Anyway, back to...
Maybe it's not a person.
Back to Deadpool and Wolverine. So what do you think, Trev?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I loved it.
Had me laughing for most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, it's hilarious. I don't know how we're going to be able to get into too much without spoilers. There's so much in this movie that you could talk about for spoilers.
Yeah, like a lot that we know is in the trailer, I guess.
Yeah, that is a bit of an issue. I think just these days with the amount of stuff that they put in trailers. I feel like I mean, I get it. You gotta sell your movie, but I think, I don't know, is it a new thing or has it always been that way? And I'm just not really. I'm only just noticing it now because we were talking about that when we were watching the trailers before the movie. It's like that Alien Romulus trailer seemed to show like a beat from every single action scene in the movie.
Yeah,
and I've heard the same with the Gladiator 2 trailer. It just basically shows everything in the movie.
I feel like for a while there, we were in a period where trailers weren't showing much. But then we kind of crawled back and now we're showing absolutely everything.
Yeah, it's probably because nobody goes to the movie theater anymore. So they're just desperate to get people to go out.
Yeah, probably.
But no, yeah, I loved Deadpool and Wolverine. I feel like maybe didn't love it as much as I was hoping, but I had crazy high expectations for it, so there was no way it was ever going to meet my crazy high expectations. But yeah, to your point, it was hilarious. Like I feel like I probably missed a good amount of jokes in there just from laughing and just because they're so rapid fire. I kind of want to see it a few more times just to absorb everything in there. But yeah, I loved it. Love seeing Hugh Jackman back. Hugh looks amazing. It's crazy.
Yeah, and not to get into spoilers. Obviously, we're going to give everyone a good warning before we go there, but they did kind of address the Logan thing right off the bat, in kind of the best way imaginable.
Yeah. Yeah, they did not waste any time. The start of the movie was amazing. To be fair, it just all Deadpool movies are a bit like that, right? They just get you right into it, and it's just like, yeah, here we go.
So maybe before digging into anything else, where do you think this ranks for Deadpool movies and for X-Men movies?
Oh, that's tricky. I feel like I don't think you can rank it with the X-Men movies because it's not an X-Men movie. It's
Yeah.
definitely a Deadpool movie.
I was
featuring Wolverine. I know they call it a Deadpool Wolverine, but it's definitely a Deadpool movie that has Wolverine in it.
Yeah. I was gonna say I think that this is my favorite Deadpool movie.
Oh, really? It's definitely up there. Like, I do love the first one. I just think it's a tighter movie. And we can get into that because I do have some nitpicks with this one in terms of pacing and the structure and stuff of it. But yeah, it's definitely up there. I did love it.
Right. And like you would say like you wouldn't quite count this as a X-Men movie?
I don't think so. It's
because the movie does kind of go to extra lengths to pay homage to the Fox properties.
Definitely does. It definitely does. Not as much as I was hoping.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, it's hard to talk. I'm trying to talk around it, but yeah, I was hoping, and I think probably just because I've watched them all in a week, I think I wanted more, like homage to that. But
okay, so yeah, maybe before we go into spoilers, we could just say like to people who are maybe a little fatigued with Marvel, and are kind of on the fence about whether to go out to the theater to see this one. Is this Marvel's back?
It's a tricky one because, like I say, if you like Deadpool, you will love this movie. If you're not a super Deadpool fan, but you like the MCU, this is not gonna restore your faith in the MCU or anything. It's not. I mean, it's in the MCU, but it's not like an MCU movie. Like, I think that is still going to fall on the new Captain America movie. I think that has a lot of heavy lifting to do with getting people back on the MCU train. I feel like this. It doesn't feel like it's in the MCU. It's hard to explain, but it's just definitely a Deadpool movie in my mind. Like, it works as a third movie in the Deadpool series.
Right. Well, then, and they do talk at great lengths about how this is Deadpool joining the MCU.
Yes, they talk about that a lot.
And what I kind of found interesting is that Deadpool was very critical of the MCU's flaws, and
they get away with a lot, to be fair.
Like, specifically, like the post Endgame flaws that kind of everyone's been talking about. Like, this movie was really kind of just like digging its fingernails into that.
Multiverses don't work. Stuff like that.
So that was very interesting. So, like, I don't know. I kind of interpreted that as like, Marvel has kind of heard the concerns of what critics and what fans are saying, and is looking to make some changes accordingly, because like they're very self-aware of all of the flaws and the difficulties that the franchise has had post Endgame.
Yeah, it was interesting that they included that. To your point, it's like they're saying, mea culpa, like, we know, we've heard you, and like we'll put what you're saying into our movie to prove it.
Makes me wonder, like, what the writers proposed that Feige said no
what
to.
They shoot down, man. Wow. Maybe he was just like, do what you guys want, and we'll just let you run with it.
Yeah.
Which would have been pretty crazy. But no.
So maybe we can go into spoilers a little bit earlier than normal.
Yeah, I feel like it's really hard to talk about this without getting into spoilers right away.
So before people drop off, for my P report.
Yeah, by the way, you picked the precise best moment in the movie.
I know. I can tell. This is my sixth sense. This is my gift, man. Go at the exact 54-minute mark, where two characters go into a diner.
Yes. You won't be able to guess which two. We'll leave it up to you to figure out.
Yeah. But you can really just sense like the movie's just like looking to slow down for a second. Yeah. It's the perfect time for go bathroom break. 54-minute mark, diner, can't miss it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're just about to head into spoiler talk because there's a lot of spoilers to talk through. So spoilers bother you, you could drop off now. Send us a line at firstlookfinalwordpod@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you guys, and be sure to hop back on once you've seen the full movie. think Pete and I definitely recommend you going out to it.
Definitely.
It is a hard R. Just beware for anyone. I can't imagine anyone's listening and thinking about going who's not really aware of that, but you never know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the MCU is pushing the boat out with this one, and they're going R with the new Blade movie as well. Then,
yeah.
I mean, I didn't think I'd see the day, but there you go. Disney and MCU. Like, they didn't round any of the sharp edges off Deadpool for this movie. If you're worried about Disney-fying Deadpool, they definitely did not.
Yeah, if
Let's
anything,
just put it that way. They went the other way to prove it.
Yeah, seriously. If anything, it was more.
It's the most vulgar.
It's like rated X.
Exactly right. It's pretty crazy.
Okay, so let's jump into spoilers.
Yeah, go see it. Go see it. All right, spoilers starting now.
Man, yes. So
where to start? I guess we can start right at the beginning of the movie, because that was funny. Like when you were talking about Michael not being happy about it.
Like he probably
just shit all over it.
He probably sat down for a screening of the movie and then walked out like right there.
Oh man, it's hilarious because like we talked about before we went in, whereas like they promised in that video, it's like we're not gonna ruin the legacy of that movie at all. We're not touching that. And it's like they must have known at the time. Like that's the first thing they're gonna do is do that. Literally dig up his bones and use them as weapons for the opening credits.
Like yeah, like a desecration of a great movie, basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Just gleefully as well. Like it's insane.
Well, the one thing I want to talk about is the big criticism of multiverse in movies is that deaths can not be permanent.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And in Logan, and I was kind of thinking about our rankings, and I said that I might put Logan third when really like maybe it's first or second. Like it is. Right. The more I think about Logan, the more I think it really is close to a perfect movie.
It is a great movie.
And like it's also just a great death. And it's like a good farewell to the character, and like Hugh Jackman, even though like he looked fantastic in this movie,
he looked like crap in Logan. Like I was watching it this morning, and it was the first hour, and I was like, "Wow, he looks rough." Because he's supposed to, right?
He's supposed to.
He's like dying in that movie.
But like Logan Wolverine's an immortal character, right? And Hugh Jackman is a mortal being. So at some point, he's going to have to stop playing Wolverine.
Nah, they'll just use AI to generate Hugh Jackman forever.
But anyways, he had the perfect death in that movie, end of a great movie. Was it worth it to bring it back, for him to come back for this project? And like, does it undercut Logan by having him be in this movie?
Yeah. That's kind of what I was thinking about. I don't think it does, just because this is very different. It's even a very different Wolverine. And it's more of a like, let's just go balls out and do balls out Wolverine, like classic Wolverine. Because they never were able to do that. They never Logan was a balls out Wolverine, but he was like old man Logan sort of basically. Like he did his berserker stuff in it a few times, but he was like, it wasn't like classic Wolverine, like let's just do classic, let's put him in the suit, let's put him in the freaking cowl, let's have him just murderize a whole bunch of people. Just because we never had it, and he deserves it because he was Wolverine for so long. He deserves to have that. And like it's just in my mind, it's just separate. Which I don't mind it. I don't mind separating him.
I guess this one's the only movie version where he has the look and kind of like he gets to stab people.
Yeah, exactly. It's the
like Logan, he's killing people who are left and right.
Yeah, but because it's like nobody would have thought in a million years that you'd ever see Hugh Jackman in the yellow suit with the yellow mask.
So it's worth it just
literally just like chopping people to bits and like in an R-rated movie.
Yeah.
Like that's just, I mean, this whole movie is a lot of just like, this is just wish fulfillment for everybody who has been a fan of Wolverine and Hugh Jackman's Wolverine.
Yeah.
Like Logan was a perfect ending to that character and it was an amazing movie, but this is just wish fulfillment. This is just like,
it's an educated wish.
It's like the best kind of fan. This is an educated wish. Nice. Yeah. It's just like the best fan service ever.
Yeah. No, yeah, and I guess this is kind of just like a fan service movie, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, again, that was why when I was talking about wanting to get into a bit of like nitpicking of some of the stuff that didn't quite work for me, because that was where it sort of lost me a bit. And And it's really not. I don't know if it is a criticism because it's a Deadpool movie, so it's not. I don't think it's really intending to be super coherent. But a lot of the like, which universe is he in now, and what's he trying to do, and like they tried to make it like, oh yeah, you can. He goes to the MCU and talks to Happy Hogan, which was fun scene, but I'm like, it was kind of confusing.
Yeah,
like which universe is he supposed to be in now? And then he went in when he was in the TVA, like what's going on now? And then so he's like, is he going to move to the MCU's timeline, or is he going to like go by and the Fox timeline that he was from? Is I kind of like that idea, but then they kind of just moved on from that pretty quick, and I don't know, I found it a little bit jarring.
Well, I was trying to track like the universe number, and it seemed like the Deadpool who's talking to Happy was from a different universe than the Deadpool we were mostly following.
Yeah,
in the movie.
That's what I mean. That like it was like a totally different, like. It was almost like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if he was at Avengers Towers interviewing for a job? Like someone came up with the writers' room, like, oh, that'd be funny if he was trying to interview to be in the Avengers, and they kind of just shoehorned it in randomly in this scene, and it was like, yeah, well, while this is fun that he's doing this, like, I felt like it was just a bit out of place.
Yeah, that one, it almost seems like that scene could have been shot like at a later time or something, because they felt like they needed a bit of a...
Like Jon Favreau said he'd do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I just love how he just like kept saying he was the driver.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
No, but I totally hear you, and I guess that scene in particular does kind of stand out.
Yeah.
I think when he goes to do the montage of the Wolverines, like that's a little messy. Like the edit's not that good kind of going into that sequence.
Yeah, and that's my main thing. I think the flow of this movie, I think, was not great. Like it didn't flow well. Like you say, some of the editing was a bit clunky. It was almost like scenes were just thrown together. And kind of the pacing kind of didn't work for me in a lot of areas, and kind of it dragged in a few spots, I think, for me as well. But I mean, it's just the fun of it just pushes it through. I just felt like it could have been way tighter in certain aspects.
Yeah, well, and they spent a lot of time in the Void,
yes,
which I found a little surprising.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like they did that whole sort of setup bit with him talking to Happy, and then him being TVA, and then it was like, oh, now we're in the Void, and we're spending a lot of time here. And then when they came out, it was a bit like, it just didn't flow very well in my mind.
Well, I thought when they came out of the Void, it was pretty messy in you know, they what is the main villain's name?
Cassandra Nova.
Okay. So they save her life, and then she sends them back to Deadpool's universe.
Yeah.
But then she immediately also wants to go to Deadpool's universe and then kind of destroy it. Like it doesn't really seem very clean.
No, it didn't like it. That's what I mean. It's funny because he even calls it the MacGuffin is that. It's just like, because that's all it was. It was like, oh, here's the bad thing that they need to go stop. So like they know that it's just like cliche, but at the same time, it's like, well, it's the
portal thing.
Still not very clean. Yeah, it's just like, it's I know what you mean. Like with the whole idea of like, oh, now here's a bunch of Deadpool variants that they're gonna fight. Was very cool. That was a really amazing fight scene because I felt like I missed so much in that because there was so much going on. But at the same time, it's a bit like, it's a bit meh. Like in the terms of what's going on in the actual flow of the movie, it's just like they turn up out of nowhere for no reason, and then want to fight them for unknown reasons because they need a big fight scene.
This is the Deadpool fight?
Yeah, the Deadpool variants, they show up and like, yeah, we're gonna kill you. And it's like, why? Because did they work for Cassandra, or like, you know what I mean? I don't understand anyone's motivation at that point. It's just like, no, it's just so we can have this huge fight scene that'll look really cool.
Yeah. Well, the spoiler I saw, by the way, was that Blake Lively was Lady Deadpool. Well,
I'd seen like a lot of people talk about that online. There was a rumor flying around that it was going to be what's her name? You know, freaking that famous pop star.
Taylor Swift?
Taylor Swift,
that famous pop star?
You knew what I meant. Yeah, which would have been pretty funny. But then, like, they didn't even make it obvious who it was. It didn't take a mask off or anything. It could have been
No, I wouldn't have been able to tell it was her.
No, she spoke at one point, and I was like, "Oh, it does sound like Blake Lively."
Yeah. But the reason why I was kind of saying that I think that this is the best Deadpool movie is because the comedy is always kind of what interested me the most.
Yes, top-notch jokes in this.
For this one, I feel like him having like this being a two-hander really works.
Yeah.
Because like there's someone kind of at Ryan Reynolds level that he's able to kind of riff off of the whole movie, and that really is to the benefit. Because like the previous two movies didn't really kind of have that same sort of thing where he has like a partner that he can have a back and forth with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they got a bit of that with Cable in the second one. Yeah, like the gruff, grumpy dude who he's just kind of sick of his bullshit.
Yeah. Did he have really all that much time with Cable?
No, not a lot. That's what I mean. Like there was like a scene or two at the end.
Great. Like Josh Brolin certainly is at
so
that.
It was like that, but for a whole movie.
But Deadpool 2 is mostly him and that Kiwi kid he's talking to for most of the movie, which I do like that kid, but
he is good. That kid.
No, he's no Hugh Jackman.
No. I was a little surprised. I felt like they held Hugh Jackman back for quite a bit at the start. Like obviously not for a huge amount of time, but like it took a while to get to that Deadpool montage thing. Like, because you had the whole thing at the beginning with him fighting the TVA with the bones of the dead Logan. Then you had him going speaking to Happy Hogan. You had all that stuff. Then you had him talking to your man from what's his name?
Matthew McFadden.
Yeah, talking to him and doing all that. And then before they even got to like him looking for the variant of Wolverine. So I was kind of a bit like, wow, they've held it back a little bit here.
Well, and that's why I found that montage so jarring, is because like they were holding back Hugh Jackman, and then all of a sudden he was just there,
and he was like a weird version.
It was very anticlimactic.
Yeah, so I think I want to get into the cameos.
Sure,
huge thing.
Well, you're gonna say Henry Cavill?
Henry Cavill was amazing. I'm just gonna throw it out there. Oh man, because I'd seen somewhere like the fan casting for Wolverine. Like some people say Henry Cavill, and that was the one thing. And I don't know if I'm just being greedy, but there was amazing cameos in this. But I felt like I would have preferred different cameos and maybe more of them. Because and that's what I was trying to get at without spoiling it previously, because like they were playing homage to the Fox X-Men movies, and they had nobody cameo from any of those movies apart from Pyro and like Toad and Sabretooth, who were not the best characters. Like I would have loved to just have
James McAvoy
or anybody. There was no X-Men. There was no X-Men in this movie. That's why when you said it, like, where would you rank it as an X-Men movie? I was like, well, there wasn't any X-Men apart from Wolverine in this whole movie.
Well, then you had like the Chris Evans as Human Torch.
That was amazing. I love that bait and switch of him being Johnny Storm. That was brilliant.
You had Elektra. You had Blade.
The Elektra and Blade was amazing, and I was so shocked to see Wesley Snipes because I know that they did not get along on that Blade movie, Blade Trinity.
Oh yeah,
and they even joked about it. He's like, and he's like, did you call me retarded or something? He's like, but they made a joke about how they hated each other on that set.
Okay, yeah, I must have missed that.
No, and I was like, wow, they got it back. That's funny. That's pretty funny.
I love the joke about how like he's the only Blade.
Yeah, that was a great joke.
That works better in the fact that like the Blade movie is having such a hard time getting off the ground. I haven't seen Wesley Snipes in a movie in a very long time.
No,
because
he went away for a long time. Then he went into jail for a while.
Yeah, because like he
like tax activation or something.
He hired an accountant who told him he didn't have to pay any tax or something. It's like fucking crazy.
Yeah, like those were fun cameos, and like the Elektra cameo I thought was fun, but then I was like, oh, that's fun, that's Elektra, that's pretty funny because no one likes that character. And then I'm like, oh, they're doubling down on having Elektra in this movie, and I don't care about that character because she's a terrible character. Like I just wish they would have been all as good as like Channing Tatum's Gambit, who I thought was amazing.
Well, like because they kept saying that we are forgotten characters or whatever, which Elektra's the only one who really kind of fits that bill. Like it really should have been like B tier characters like that.
I loved when Channing Tatum's like, it feels like I've always been here, because I think I let Owen to say to you, but
he's like, I might have been born here.
Yeah, because he was cast as Gambit in The Last Stand. Because I was talking about on the way here how they nixed that, right? Then they nixed it and said, no, you can't have Gambit in The Last Stand, and they put him in.
He must have been really young then.
Yeah, he was just like just starting out.
Okay.
So that's why it was like, oh, like this never even happened because I was actually hired to do this and never got to play it. And I just thought it was amazing that they just went 100%. We're going to put him in the exact costume like from the cartoon.
Oh yeah, he looked so ridiculous.
And have him do the ridiculous accent and just make fun of the fact that accent is ridiculous.
Yeah, like you cannot understand a single word he's saying.
And he was so good in that.
Yeah,
but also was like kicking ass and like making people explode.
He was having a great time, and like makes you see that Bandit's cool. But
so so me saying there was no X-Men in it, there you go, Gambit was in it.
Yeah,
but like I would have loved it if it instead of Elektra, like I don't mind Elektra and Blade showing up, but like just to have a few more people in there that I care a bit more about, I would have loved that a bit better. But that's just I don't know if that's just me being greedy.
So yeah, you just going through the X-Men movies, like who do you think that they maybe tried to get?
I'm sure they tried to get everybody.
They tried to get Halle Berry or something.
Yeah, like anybody, Anna Paquin. Like Christ, I would have had Bobby. Although did something happen to him? The kid who played Bobby,
Iceman.
Yeah. I thought something happened to him, or maybe it was his brother.
Yeah, I don't know.
But anyway, yeah, just like any of that original crew, or even like any of the Days of Future Past, like a Fassbender showing up would have been amazing. A McAvoy showing up would have been amazing.
But you also got to think like they had like a few key cameos in mind, like Chris Evans as Human Torch and Channing Tatum as Gambit.
Yeah.
And they've had criticism in the past of like overloading on the cameos, and so maybe they thought like too many A-tier cameos might overwhelm it.
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, I don't even need an A tier. Just give me a B tier,
sure,
but that I care about.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, give me a Quicksilver or like bring freaking Cyclops back. Get me James Marsden. He's not doing anything. He's not doing a Sonic movie right now. Like, maybe he is actually. And I get that like you can't just get everybody you want in, but if you're just doing a cameo, it can't be that hard. The other thing as well is that, and this is me being greedy as well, when he went to find the Wolverine variants, I would have loved to seen a bit more variation of that, because they did the Henry Cavill, which was amazing, but then all the rest of them were just like weird CGI.
Yeah,
Hugh Jackman with an eye patch.
They had an opportunity to do like more like Spider-Verse type stuff, and maybe like he could go and see like the 90s cartoon version.
Yes. That would have been amazing, yeah.
But like, yeah,
I really wanted to see Harry Potter. What's that kid's name?
Daniel Radcliffe.
Because that's a fan cast. Because he's been a fan cast for so long. And in the trailer, the shot of the Wolverine sat playing cards with the white suit jacket, the one that had an eye patch.
Yeah,
like everyone was convinced that was going to be Daniel Radcliffe.
Okay,
and it's like, and then it ended up just being enough. It's like, oh, he's got an eye patch, and he just walked off. And I'm like, that's a waste. That's a waste to me. Just like the comic accurate height one was pretty hilarious though.
Yeah, he was like so short.
Well, you know what would have been better than that if it was Danny DeVito.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Like, do like the real mini-me thing from Austin Powers.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Like that, the cameos that they rocked in Austin Powers movie were just like chef's kiss. In this one, I was like, oh look, it's Jennifer Garner. I don't care about her at all. Although I did like the diss on Ben Affleck.
Oh, that was hilarious. Yeah.
It's like, oh, it doesn't matter. I don't mind if he's dead. It's like, wow. Stick the boot into him. That's pretty funny.
So, how do you think this movie will kind of go down? Like, is this the thing that kind of writes the MCU?
Yeah, I don't think so. That's what it'd be like. To me, it wasn't an MCU movie, and it wasn't a Fox X-Men movie. It was a Deadpool movie that had elements of those that he made fun of. That's kind of how I saw it. Like, I think that's what I mean. Like, same thing I'm saying with the cameo for like what's the X-Men cameo in it? Like, they made a point at the beginning, like, hey, we're bringing you into the MCU, and the only cameo you can get is a Happy Hogan. Mm-hmm. And I guess they can't really afford to crowbar any like top tier MCU people in there. But I mean, there's got to be something you could do, surely.
So would you say like this movie more serves as like it's a good farewell to the Fox era, but it's not quite the marriage of, you know, the X-Men into the MCU that you would have been looking for?
Yeah, no, and also the transition of Deadpool into the MCU. This didn't seem like we're transitioning Deadpool into the MCU. This seemed more of like we're going to give him a last hurrah because he doesn't work in the MCU.
Yeah, well, I don't think the Deadpool character is certainly done, but I think that a decision has been made that he doesn't kind of, he's not going to like work in an Avengers type movie.
No.
Right? Because like, well, the humor and the violence just wouldn't work in an
honestly
Avengers
though,
type
I wouldn't
movie.
be surprised if this was it. They're like, we're not doing any more Deadpool now. Like, I guess it depends on how well this movie does. If it makes $1 billion, they'll definitely do more Deadpool movies. But
Yeah, like I've been saying for a while that I think that this movie's just going to do gangbusters. Like it's like there's not really a lot of competition coming out for it either.
no,
like,
that's very true.
It was playing in like eight theaters today, basically.
Yeah, they had a lot of showings on.
Yeah, and I guess it would kind of just be up to Ryan Reynolds if he wants to
True enough.
keep going with the character. And then, you know, Hugh Jackman if he wants to keep going with the character. This certainly didn't seem like a farewell for his Wolverine, which is another kind of strange thing about it.
Did you catch the references to Wrexham in that movie?
Yeah, well, there were one of the Deadpools had a Welsh
the Welsh flag
on it.
on
I
his
assume
chest.
that was the one played by Rob McElwain.
No, actually, he played a TVA.
Oh, he did play a TVA
and I think
guy,
it's the
yeah.
one where, you know, when they all come to come to his apartment and he's like, "You with the eyes."
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that was who it is, like, because he's
probably, yeah.
specifically pointed him out.
Yeah, but I did see the Welsh flag on the one.
Yeah, there was another one that I did see on social media before again, but in the bar when he first meets Wolverine in the bar, in the background is one of the Wrexham players, Ollie Palmer, is in the background as an extra.
Oh, okay.
Which I thought was pretty cool.
Well, that's good. Yeah, maybe transition to acting.
Yeah, he sorts out his mates. Old Ryan Reynolds. Even gets his wife in there. Yeah, but like even with the like when all the Deadpools showed up, it was like, oh, that's fun and interesting that all these random Deadpools are showing up. But it's like it was just a wall of Deadpools. It was like it just I would have loved to like see a couple of cameos in there as well. I don't know why I'm so cameo obsessed. I got enough cameos. What's up with you?
So,
I just feel like this movie in particular was like prime real estate to just crowbar people in, because that's what the whole movie was about, and they could have just done anything.
Yeah,
and I was just a bit disappointed with what they ended up with, even though it was pretty cool to see Blade say, "Motherfuckers, I skating uphill again." That's one of my favorite lines ever. But no, I don't know. I don't know why I felt disappointed with that. I think, but like I say, it's my high expectations, I think. But I would have loved to have seen a Patrick Stewart rock up at some point. That would have been nice. They wasted the Patrick Stewart cameo in Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, like they're not going to bring him back again. Like,
that's what I mean. They wasted. But if they can waste him in that, like
they asked for, you know, where's Magneto?
Yeah,
and said he's dead, right?
Dead,
so
yeah.
I assume that a call was made to both.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I feel like they asked everyone and nobody could do it because it was like interrupted by COVID and not COVID, but like strikes and stuff, right? So
yeah,
I'm sure it wouldn't have been very easy to get people out, but like that Henry Cavill one, you could tell that was just like whenever you've got a spare afternoon, can you just come and do this scene?
Yeah,
we'll throw some makeup on you, do your hair. But that was amazing. He'd make a great Wolverine, man. Although he might be too big. He's pretty hench.
I feel like you don't want to pick someone. You want to pick someone less famous and like a little younger too.
Yeah,
not that he's all.
It's going to be interesting what they do with that. Like, how do you recast a Wolverine at this point? I wouldn't be surprised if they just left Wolverine alone when they integrate the X-Men into
maybe leave it alone for a movie.
Yeah, like go with like OG X-Men without Wolverine in it. And
like
just,
are people clamoring for Daniel Radcliffe to do it?
I don't know about clamoring. I think he's probably too famous at this point. Not too famous, but I would love him to do it. He probably would.
I think he'd be good at it.
Yeah, I do too.
He's kind of got the look for it.
Yeah. he's like not super tall, so which was a big complaint
Yeah.
of people, even when Hugh Jackman got the role. It's crazy though. Like when you look back at Hugh Jackman in that first movie, he was not big.
Yeah.
He was not big. Like he did not pack on that much muscle for that role.
And when they were showing like those clips, like he looked like a baby.
Yeah, he's so young. It was like it was like his first ever acting gig.
Yeah.
Like he was a stage actor, and actually Russell Crowe got him the audition.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, those Aussies all look out for each other.
They were mates from acting on stage, and he got him an audition, and he fluffed his audition actually, and like Kevin Feige was like,
was that Feige's first movie?
Well, he was like working with, because he worked with Shula Donner,
right?
Was like her assistant, and like he had his fingers in all kinds of stuff even back then. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But no, he was because somebody else was cast. I like Gary Scott or something was cast as Wolverine, but then it got delayed and they had to get rid of him.
It's crazy what could have been, right?
We could have Gary Scott and Ryan Reynolds.
It's the same as like Back to the Future and
Eric Schultz.
Who like actually like filmed like 6 weeks on this movie, and then
that's
they just fired
That's
him.
why I'm like, that's ballsy to be like, no, we're going back and reshooting all this with a different actor. Like sometimes it works out well, like we were talking out on the way. All right, so we made it back. We made it back home.
So yeah, well, it sounds like you liked it, but you still have some like reservations about like, you know, maybe not as good as you would.
Yeah, and I kind of was worried about that because I did have crazy high expectations for it, and it did hit a lot of the expectations. Like to your point, it is probably the funniest and the most violent. And they're like crudest in a good way.
Yeah, that's all I'm looking for.
Of all the Deadpool movies, that's what I mean. That's what I'm really looking for. But I was just like, oh, I wish
there's some missed opportunities.
Yeah, and then like it could have been a lot tighter. And I think the pacing and some of the scenes didn't really work. Like the scene with Happy, I don't think you even really need. I just found it, like we already talked about it, but I just found it a bit confusing. Like. I would have honestly rather have him like just CGI him into some old MCU movie scenes, just have him in the background watching, like when he's watching him on the TV screens. I was like, yeah, that's cool, but like, it's not as fun.
Yeah, I'm very interested in him dying in Thor's arms. I think that they showed that was really funny.
That was pretty funny.
All right, so yeah, we have a rating scale of 0 to 6.5 on this podcast. Where would you rate this on that scale, Pete?
I think I want to give it like a 6.
Whoa, okay.
Because I did love it. It's just not, and like all these quibbles I have of it, I'm just like in my mind, I think it could have made it like almost perfect.
Before you said that, I would have said that I was higher on this movie than you were. Like I'd say I'm a 5.5.
Yeah. No, I love it. It was like like I said, it's my sweet spot. I love all that stuff. But yeah, in my mind, it just needed, maybe 6 is a bit high now you've said that. But it just like, it wasn't perfect and I wanted it to be perfect. That's why I'm complaining, because I could see how it could have been perfect if it just changed a few things. But no, it was definitely big thumbs up for me. I want to see it again for sure.
Well, in terms of MCU movies, like it's the highest I've been on it for a while, though. Like I've never been as negative as some other people have been on the recent MCU stuff, but this is definitely like a good I'm gonna say like maybe my favorite entry since Endgame, though I'd have to kind of check the list to double check.
I do really like Guardians 3.
Oh yeah, forgot about Guardians 3. Yeah, Guardians 3 would be ahead of this for me.
Yeah, and I really did like Spider-Man as well.
No, I definitely like this more than the most recent.
You're not into that Spider-Man movie, are you?
I think that it's kind of just, you know, weaponized nostalgia, and then it's not actually a good movie.
That's why I like it. That's what I mean. Like it's my sweet spot.
I don't want to
throw them in.
I don't want to make anybody mad.
Well, that's what I mean. I think that's why I like that. What I'm trying to say about this movie, it's like in that movie they knew what they were doing. Just put the Spider-Man in it, put the villains in it that you all know and love, and like you say, just weaponize the nostalgia, and then off you go.
But if you look at a movie like Into the Spider-Verse, they weaponized nostalgia and made a fucking masterpiece. Like that movie is
that's off on its own. Like that's there's no argument.
I know, but like some people say like they prefer No Way Home to the Spider-Verse movies, which I think is insane.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far, but like No Way Home, I rate as one of my favorite MCU movies.
I just don't think like any of the explanation for why any of the villains are there makes any fucking sense whatsoever.
It's because of magic hand waving stuff, Trevor. Come on now.
It's like, these are all people who died, fighting Spider-Man, knowing Spider-Man. It's like Peter all these Parker, people, even though they had no idea who Peter Parker is.
Yeah, it didn't make a lot of sense.
And then he just does the Wonder Woman 1984 thing and says, "I renounce my wish." And everything goes back to normal. See, I'm going to make all the people like No Way Home mad at me, but that's just not, that one's not for me.
You're entitled to your opinions, even when they're stupid and wrong.
Yeah. I do, you know what? I do love when the three Peters are just hanging out. I think that's when the movie is really singing. Yeah,
the banter between the three of them was I loved it.
No, and I don't think it's a bad movie.
Right. No, it's not. I love it, but yeah, I know what you're saying. Though.
Even of like the three Tom Holland movies, like it's my least favorite.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't like that movie that much.
Wow. I didn't know about this.
It's not a fail for me. I'm sure there's dozens of us who have that opinion.
Dozens. There's probably a single dozen, maybe. Wow. Okay. You blew my mind a little bit there, but that's fine.
Well, sorry about that. Well, anyways, so
we got a bit off track there at the end.
Still sounds like we're both like, pretty high on this one.
I loved it.
Definitely go see it in the theater. Imagine people listening to this far have already seen it or don't care about spoilers, but yeah, it's definitely kind of worth going out for. I think it's the best Deadpool one.
Yeah, like I say, I don't know. I do like the first one. I just feel like it knew exactly what it was doing, and it just told a very tight story that was like fresh and new and funny. But I don't know. I've not done a rewatch of the first Deadpool, so maybe it's just has that thing in my heart where I'm like,
yeah. But did the first Deadpool have Wolverine just like tearing people into pieces?
It did not.
Yeah,
it didn't.
So think about that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you've turned me around.
Okay. Okay. Well, sounds like we're winding down now. Let us know what you guys think of this movie. You can reach us at firstlookfinalwordpod@gmail.com. Tell your friends about our podcast.
Yeah, please do spread the word.
Rate us 5 stars and leave a comment. You can say whatever you want in the comment. Just rate us 5 stars.
Yeah, just comment about how you disagree with Trevor's opinions on
No. We're not talking about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, Pete?
No, I think that's it for this week, guys. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, that's the final word.